Hey everybody, Nick Espinosa, your chief security fanatic here, and today we have to talk about Taiwan because Taiwan was just hit with a cyber attack just before Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi came to visit. And I think this really underscores something that I say all the time, and if you follow me regularly, say it along with me. Cybersecurity is agnostic to politics, but we're not immune from it. Now, I don't care if you love or hate Nancy Pelosi. She tends to be a politically divisive figure, especially in this day and age of polarization. I am not going to go through the merits or demerits of her going to Taiwan. The point of the matter is, this is essentially the person in the United States government that if the president and vice president die, she takes over. She's running one of the large legislative, basically, branches of the U.S. government. So she is an incredibly important figure. And so I think this is an important one to talk about. Now, here's what's going on via Maggie Miller of Politico. The website of Taiwan's presidential office basically went down Tuesday due to an alleged distributed denial of service attack, with other government websites also being impacted by this attack. Now, this took place hours ahead of, as I mentioned, Speaker Pelosi's visit to that island. The Chinese government threatened to take action in response to this trip, and Taiwan is reportedly readying air raid shelters in anticipation of a potential Chinese attack. Now, since then, originally China had offered, or not offered, I should say, well, yeah, they did offer to shoot down Speaker Pelosi's plane, but they had threatened to do that, is I guess what I meant. So please, nobody take them up on that offer. Obviously, that was a bluff. That would be an immediate war to take out the third most powerful person in the U.S. government, simply just flying to, that wayward island, as China would call it. And so obviously that's a huge thing. China also, in response, has basically said they're going to be running 4 drills of military exercises with their Navy all around, basically surrounding the island of Taiwan. So Taiwan is obviously digging in anticipation of, well, maybe this isn't just exercises, maybe they're going to invade. I don't think they would do that, again, with the third most powerful person in the U.S. government on the island, but we'll see what happens here. Now, basically the Taiwan presidential office, their spokesperson, Chang Tun-han, confirmed that this DDoS attack on the office did take place in a post on Facebook, and he noted that this attack consisted of 200 times more traffic to the website than normal, and it was carried out by a group from outside of Taiwan. Now, according to NBC News, this was a bigger attack because they reported that other Taiwanese government sites went down ahead of Pelosi's visit, including the Ministry of National Defense, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the website of Taiwan's Taoyuan International Airport, where Speaker Pelosi's plane landed. Now, all 3 websites were up and running as of about 3 hours ago or so, according to this publication in Politico. Doug Mattery, and I think this is interesting, he's the director of Internet Analysis Traffic monitoring group Kentic, said that his company had tracked these attacks on these 3 websites, describing these incidents as, quote, effective even if they were not record-breaking. 200 times the amount of traffic to a website typically is not record-breaking, especially to outbreaks or DDoS attacks, the level of things like the Mirai virus a few years back. He also noted that overall internet traffic for Taiwan looked pretty normal, so that's not too bad. But moving on, John Hultquist, he's the vice president of intelligence analysis at Mandiant. He also said that they were tracking an overall increase in Chinese threats against Taiwan. This included 2, quote, Chinese information operations, end quote, changing tactics to spread disinformation around the dangers involved with having Speaker Pelosi visit. And this is not new. I've written on this. I've talked about all of the disinformation campaigns that Chinese intelligence are running very heavily against Taiwan as well as Hong Kong, essentially because, quite frankly, China wants Taiwan back. Taiwan will not declare themselves to be a nation, but they're kind of a nation. So it's this weird one China policy thing that the U.S. has adopted to kind of appease China while still backing Taiwan as a fledgling democracy. Quote, we anticipate that Chinese actors are also carrying out significant cyber espionage against targets in Taiwan and the United States to provide intelligence on the crisis. That's also according to Holquist as well. So The interesting part of this, though, is that these denial of service attacks are pretty low-hanging fruit for any kind of cyber attack. If you're in cybersecurity, it's pretty easy to put together a cyber attack like this because all you're doing is knocking out or making infrastructure unreachable. And so, to that point, John Lewis, the director of Strategic Technologies program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, has basically downplayed these attacks, noting that they were likely not tied back to the Chinese government, describing them as quote-unquote squeals of rage. And I quote, DDoS means it's patriotic hackers, basically amateur hackers expressing their displeasure. Fairly normal stuff for Chinese netizens, doesn't even need official encouragement. So, is that true? It's very possible that it is. Again, DDoS is a very low-hanging fruit. Anybody could essentially go and figure out how to run one of those and knock those, knock that infrastructure out. So I think it's important to understand, though, that by virtue of this visit to Taiwan by Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi was a controversial visit. There was a controversy because the Biden administration apparently didn't want her to go, but she did want to go. All these kinds of things, and so we have a lot of different political views and opinions on that. But the bottom line is she is the third most powerful elected official in the United States government, directly in the line of succession for the presidency. And so she is somebody, by virtue of that, to be protected because she is one of those government officials. I, again, am not adjudicating politics here, whether you love her, hate her, or somewhere in between. That's not relevant. The point is that China, seeing these things, one, they're not tamping down on this, even if it is their citizens, meaning I guarantee you that China's not going to look for those citizens. If it was citizens that hit Taiwan with denial of service attacks, they're not going to go looking for those people. And so basically that is tacit approval from that government that's adversarial. And obviously if they're threatening to shoot down the Speaker of the House's plane, then obviously that's a huge thing. So there you go. That is your news of the day. I'll keep you informed on this, but we are going to see more, I predict, machinations in terms of cyber capability from China over this visit, and we'll see what happens there. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, where I promise I will not denial of service attack you, nor will I on YouTube when you subscribe to me, so please do. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private. Thanks, everybody.